Perhaps the latest spring game ever happened just a few days ago. What do we take away in Seattle? For that, we bring on Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies. Roman, I watched Washington Spring Game, which had its fair share of exciting and interesting moments. But I got to tell you, my number one takeaway in this game, Washington has some guys in the secondary that can play. I mean, throughout the day, I think that was a recurring theme, is you saw plays getting made down the field. They got beat a couple times. That's going to happen when you have some good wide receivers on the other side, like Desmond Roebuck could be in for a big season for sure. But overall, I was really impressed with the number of times I felt like the secondary got downhill and made plays in the running game against some solid Washington running backs. I know that's a question this year. Number of times they didn't let anyone get open, made plays. That was what stood out the most to me. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I really love where you're going there. Don't forget Rasheed Williams, by the way, who had that long 43-yard touchdown.
Yes.
He's going to be a player as long as he can stay healthy. I love that you start with the secondary, Spencer, where this is a group that outside I've seen a lot of questions because you're replacing two NFL guys on the outside in Takario Davis and Ephesians Prysock. But you look at Dylan Robinson on one side, the sophomore who started 5-6 games last year, including his first career start, which came against Jeremiah Smith in Ohio State. That's a guy this coaching staff has said throughout the spring has first-round traits. Emmanuel Carnley on the other side, the Virginia transfer, had 9 pass breakups and a pick there last season. You look at safety, where you've got this really fun combination of all Big Ten honorable mention Alex McLaughlin and freshman All-American Ryland Dillard-Allen. We haven't even seen starting this nickelback Rashawn Clark this spring because he was dealing with a shoulder injury, but there's so much talent. One guy who really stood out to me was freshman safety Gavin Day, where this is a kid who just exploded up the rankings ahead of signing day, finished in the top 100 on 247's rankings. And he was somebody where you watch his high school film and he just plays with reckless abandon. He loves to hit. He loves to lay people out. And it was very clear to me at several points being out there for every practice that Washington's coaching staff was like, hey man, let's not injure your teammates here. And they just kind of gave him free reign to go out there and run around and have some fun in the spring game, which I absolutely loved. And I mentioned that because I think it's a great sign of what's to come in the secondary, where guys like Elias Johnson, Ramon Adams really impressed me this spring. Freshman cornerback Jaron Jones is somebody this coaching staff is really, really excited about. So I love all that. The other big thing for me is I think this team is vastly improved in the trenches, where I don't think that this is the best scenario to show that off, because Washington is doing the old-fashioned split squad spring game where you had the left side of the offensive line on one team, the right side of the offensive line on the other team. So it's a little confusing to follow if you haven't sat here and watched all the practices and gone through the depth chart and so on. But watching what's going on the offensive line is really fun. True freshman left tackle Cody Green is someone that really flashed throughout spring ball. And then along the defensive line, the 2 of the 3 defensive tackle transfers you brought in Deshaun Watts and Darren Conley were both guys that throughout the spring found different ways to get pressure and just showed that even though Washington lost 10 guys along the defensive line last year between graduation, the draft, and the transfer portal, this unit has a lot of talent. And I think that there is a lot of depth that could really surprise some people.
You mentioned the word fun, and spring games are supposed to be fun. They are also informational points for people like us to use to inform all of you, the college football public out there, about what to expect and what is coming up. Why exactly was there, if you care to explain, a tight end throwing a pass down? I mean, I know spring games can get a little... Yeah, like at least Washington had an actual spring game. I think
absolutely.
I think that was
loves
great.
To brag about that, by the way.
I liked the promotional video that their social team made with because they put real time and effort into the whole thing about I'm late, which I think was poking fun at the fact that they had their spring game on May 1st.
That's right.
Which was in the Power 4 last in college football. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, I thought that was all well done and whatnot, but we'll talk about Damon Williams in a moment. There's no quarterback battle coming from the tight end room, though.
No, so you bring up a fun question where one of the things that Jedd Fisch has done since coming to Washington, where the spring game was never an affair. It was always a very lackluster sort of thing. Like I remember some social media posts ahead of the 2023 season with all these national accounts being like, there are like 500 people in the stands and this is supposed to be a top 10 team in the country. So that's kind of where a lot of this comes from. Jedd has always been a big proponent of getting as many people out and just having fun. So to answer your question, Spencer, the two honorary head coaches for Washington were the men's and women's soccer coaches, Jamie Clark and Nicole Van Dyke. Obviously, the men's soccer team won the national championship. The women's soccer team went to the Elite Eight. So he wanted to get them involved, and Jedd threw in some soccer style twists. I feel like it's the best way to explain, since he called one of them like a red card, where on one play, each coach had one opportunity to do this. On one play, you got to remove a player, where one coach removed kicker Tyler Robles on an extra point and made the punter do it, which was really funny.
Did he make it?
He did not.
Yeah, it was very hard. Very different skills there.
It was clear watching that, which I kind of appreciated from that side of things. But on the play that you're referencing, sophomore tight end Baron Naone threw a pass that was horrendously underthrown for wide receiver Rashid Williams, got picked off by Paul Menke. Rashid also committed offensive pass interference on the play, but that was because the red card was used to take Damon Williams off the field on that particular play.
I see.
Yeah, if you look around, you didn't see a guy in a black jersey. It's because, Damon Williams was not allowed to be on the field for that play.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I don't think that a trick play involving him tossing one down on a double pass is going to be in Washington's future, but it was fun to try. Let's talk about Damon Williams, and it was an eventful offseason, and the clips that we did see in the spring game footage of him with his teammates all look very positive. It's impossible to know for sure how everything has settled down, if it has settled down, and how he's working himself into the fold and winning over that locker room because of the offseason drama where he was going to leave the school. Like that has to have some type of effect, but that part seemed to be okay. Did you take anything away from his actual performance during the game?
Not really. Like I will say, to the offseason stuff, from everything I've heard inside the program, from players, coaches, just anybody else inside the building, it does sound like a lot of that has just kind of blown over. Just in terms of from the explanation I've been given by several different people at this point, is he was only away from the team for like 48 hours. And I think that is something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle of all of this. So I just wanted to throw that out there for your audience, Spencer. But in terms of his actual performance, this was something where, listening to Jedd Fisch and Ryan Walters talk after the spring game, it was very clear that neither of them took this entire day very seriously, because they wanted to use it as a fun culmination of the spring. And there were a couple of plays where Damon had one pass that got picked off that was behind Rashid Williams. It took him a little bit longer to get in rhythm, but it just felt like one of those moments where, it's a spring game. You're working with some different guys. You're working with half the offensive line that you don't normally work with. So he did look a little bit uncomfortable at first, but then he settled in, made a couple of really nice throws. The 22-yard back shoulder dime to Jordan Clay was one that really piqued my interest. And obviously the next play is the long touchdown to Rashid Williams. So all in all, it's one of those days where, as much as we in the media world like to overreact to things, this is not something I'm going to overreact to.
Last thing I'll get you out on, Rashid Williams or Desmond Roebuck, who goes into a bigger role filling the void left by Denzel Boston?
I would have to say Rashid Williams, because,
Really?
Well, the reason I say that is we saw
type.
Desmond Roebuck be a freshman All-American last year. We saw him set a program record for freshmen with 7 receiving touchdowns. Rashid Williams was supposed to be the wide receiver 2 last year, but he broke his collarbone in the second game of the year, and then he's supposed to come back during the bye week. And during a practice over the bye week, he, as he told us over spring practice, got his hand caught in somebody's face mask and broke his hand. So yeah, just a really unfortunate series of events for him, for somebody who was supposed to step into a bigger role and somebody who was supposed to be that primary complement, which obviously we saw Desmond Roebuck, do full well next to Denzel Boston. But that's why I would have to go that way, is because moving Desmond inside is certainly going to be very beneficial for this offense. And I think he's going to still be very, very productive. But in terms of who we're going to see the biggest jump from, it's Rashid Williams. That's not close.
That reminds me of something that happened during the season last year. DeCorian Moore at Oregon got hurt going into the Iowa game, and several other players also got hurt. And someone quipped that Oregon during practice was having Anchorman-like battles. It was like, what's the third or fourth player announced that he got hurt? Someone just said live look at Oregon's practices this week, and it's the fights in Anchorman. That's all I can think of anytime I hear, so-and-so got hurt at practice. I'm like, what happened to no touching of the hair or face? Of course.
Brick killed a man.
Brick killed a guy. Yeah. Brick, I've been meaning to talk to you, but you might want to lay low for a while. Okay, we will quote so much Anchorman if we don't end the show. That's Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies. I'm Spencer McLaughlin. Appreciate everyone listening. We'll see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.